Hi everyone, welcome. Alexis Donachie here, CEO and founder of Manager IQ, a place where managers can join, develop and thrive. We're running a manager interview series, which we're really excited to bring to all the managers so that we can showcase fantastic management, get hot tips and really learn from each other. We've got Lindsay Fisher here today with me to have this amazing conversation. Lindsay is in New Zealand and has worked in both New Zealand and London, has had a wonderful career to date in banking, recruitment, insurance, and business finance as well. Lindsay is also currently the director at Need Recruitment, a fantastic recruitment agency that services both New Zealand and Australia. Anyway, welcome, Lindsay. How are you?
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, not a problem whatsoever. I've just given such a brief introduction about your career to date, but why don't you tell us a little bit more, and I guess specifically in the areas where you started to become a manager?
Yeah, I suppose my background mostly has been either in sales or customer service, so coming up through the grades in retail banking, and then I ran my own business for a while as an insurance broker before getting into recruitment, and then transversing across into business finance. But my leadership journey sort of started in the bank after about 17 odd years in various vocations doing customer service and sales. So it was a conscious decision to make that step to get into the leadership space. And the bank that I was with is, it had the advantages of being a large corporate. So you have a lot of structure, you have a lot of training around that leadership piece. So that gave me that grounding. And that grounding is something that I use pretty much every day in my current role. So I run a small team of 3 in a business finance business, looking after customers and making sure they're getting what they need from us as a business.
If we think about that moment when you first, I guess, even decided that you wanted to head into the management role, what are some of the things that you did or the organization helped you with to get you even in a position to, one, go for a manager role and then be successful?
I suppose it's around you start having to think about others rather than yourself. So through your career at the start, you're thinking about what do I need to do to get myself to that next level. And it is quite a mind shift to go from that mindset into how can I get this team to the next level, or how can we achieve together to get what we need to get done. So I probably went into leadership more in that mindset of thinking about myself. This is what I need to do to get to the next stage. I need to get into leadership so I can climb that corporate ladder. But then once you're in there, it takes a little while, but you just you eventually realize that it's not about you anymore. It's about your team, because you can't do everything, and you need your team to perform, and you can't just make it happen. You've got to engage with them. You've got to find out what motivates them, and that's that help that you get in a well-structured training area, is helping you transition that mindset, and then understanding what the questions are that you need to ask, what are the discussions you need to have, that it's not one size fits all, that each person's different, they've got different motivators, and in that sort of environment you can try things without breaking it, but you can't, I don't know, a lot of businesses I suppose take really high performers and move them into management, but don't put that structure around them, and then what the business does is it loses the high performance and it has a so-so manager on board. So I think that's one thing where if you want to make that transition, you've got to look at what's the support around you, because there's a lot to it. There's a lot to learn. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things there. I love Simon Sinek, and I've been listening to a lot of his podcasts and so forth. And one of the things that he does mention, similar to what you've said there, is that managers often believe I made it. They're here to work hard for me now, and suddenly they've got all these people that they want to have the power over. But he says, actually, you're actually there for them. They're not there for you. You're actually there to help them and enable them and ensure that they're happy and motivated and engaged. And I think that you've touched on that. And I think you're right. The journey that you had with, you go in there and you think, okay, well, it's about me. And then you have to transition to it's actually about them, is something that's felt with a lot of managers that I've spoken to over my time, or I've, coached and so forth. And, a bit of a shameless plug here, Manager IQ has developed a new manager development program that actually helps managers rethink their mindset around what the role of the manager is, and also helps them get set up. And the thing that you also touched on was around making sure that you have that support network around you. So the program helps you, find out who your key stakeholders are, how you could engage them in conversations and so forth. But I'll put a link to the program for anyone who might be interested. So now let's think about, was there a kind of a defining moment for you where you thought, okay, I actually have this manager role down pat? Can you think about a time that maybe that was an aha moment for you?
No. I think it's a constant evolution, right? Yeah, I don't think you're ever fully comfortable, because you never know what's going to come next. And a lot of it is to do with it can be related to the personal lives of your team, because that's where the real left field, situations come about, and you're like, oh, and everyone's looking at you. You're the manager.
Yeah.
So it's on me now. I've got to make this call on whatever it is. So whether it's bad behavior and disciplinary, or whether it's rewarding, or whether it's just someone's in a tough spot and what's the right thing to do by them and by the business, and keep all those stakeholders there. So, you've got your building blocks of it. You're doing your standard stuff, your one-on-ones on a regular basis, or your team meetings on a regular basis. Everyone's got a development plan. So that's all your one-on-one, your 101 stuff, getting it there. But I think it's each individual person. As you click with each one, you get those small ahas along the way. And it's like, that's your thing. That's how you respond, or that's what you need to hear, or that's how I work with you. And then, you're completely different, and I need to do it this way with you. And so rather than I've arrived, it's, I think I've worked that one out. I'm still working on these ones, but I think I've got you. So, and it is, a team is a collection of people that work together. So they didn't all choose to work together. They want to do the job. And it's finding the ways of knitting them together so that you get the result that you need and the business needs. So I suppose it's more smaller ahas on each individual person along the way.
Yeah, I love that. And it just showcases the versatility that you're applying to each individual person, and, tapping into their needs and tapping into what motivates them, and knowing that what one thing might do for another might not actually do the same or have the same effect for that other person as well. So I think that's such a fascinating comment that you have there. Do you want to talk us through a challenge that you faced as a manager and how you overcame it, or even if you can think about it as broad or as specific as you like?
Yep. So being in the bank land previously, in retail, so managing branches, managed a couple of different teams, and the last branch that I went into had been underperforming, and really had to work out, what some of the reasons were. And there's lots of reasons, but, went in with an open mind and just tried to listen and understand and see what was there. But in retail banking, it's a changing landscape with online banking. There's less foot traffic. And some of the banks have, they've got big footprints, big branches that used to have, 20, 27 staff, I think the one I had. And then you're running a team of 7 in that cavernous sort of space. And so the teams can be quite, they can be quite stretched apart. I had this big long banking chamber, and the guys weren't working as a team. So you've got a front line, you've got your tellers, and then you've got your sales guys, and you needed them to connect, because it's a referral. It's a referral to sit someone down and talk to them about a need. And so I had an L-shaped chamber, and I had my teller line at the very back, and I had my sales team halfway up, sort of the top end. They're so far away they couldn't hear each other. So I had a bank of desks, bank of offices closer to that front line, and I had our lead salesperson, who was a mobile mortgage manager, in one of those seats. It's like, right, I need to move you, because I'm a mortgage specialist, just does the home loan piece. I need you in a different spot. And I need my guys that do bank accounts and personal loans and credit cards and that there, because that's where that interaction is going to be. So for me, after all, I was like, okay, that might work. Let's try this. Let's see if we can get some communication. Everyone can hear. And that lead person didn't want to give up that office. And look, you can have my office, you can have any other office you want. I need that one for these reasons. No, if that happens, I'm going to go. It's like, okay, well, I need it. So, I had some pressure from those above me, because it's, why are you cutting off this exceptional salesperson that's doing all this work for the business? And for me, it was a transition from, I'm doing great in this one bucket in terms of sales, but everything else is failing. And gone are the days where you could just do one thing and sort of it was okay. Like you need to spread everything. You needed to hit all these numbers. So the only way I could see doing that was to get the whole team operating. So I had to make that decision to go, I'm going to cut my top performer so that I can bring the rest of my team in together on the chance that this thing's going to work and we can get more production. So did it. That top performer moved off to another space. I brought my team up and had them in there. And I think the second day I was standing doing an observation on one of my front line, and a customer came in and they were looking for an appointment for a product, personal loan or something, and there was no one free. So the teller was going to book them into the booking system, and then the staff member just across the chamber walks over and said, "Oh, I've just finished early. I can see you in a minute. Just take a seat." And I just went, "This works." Yeah. You know, I might have traded off, I don't know, 10 million of home loaning for a $15,000 personal loan, but that was the start, and that showed me if I can bring this team together. The tellers, they're like, great. They're looking for a referral, so they tick their box. Great. They've got a happy customer who came in for something and could see someone straight away, which is rare these days. So I had to make a call and forego what was safe to try and get this team operating better. And it was still a work in progress when I left that branch, but it was one of those calls where you went, I can just sit here and get 80%, or I can try and move the dial. So that was a call I had to make.
Yeah, wow, there's so much of that as well. It's around, not just focusing on one, but focusing on the whole, like the whole team, and making sure that as a collective, they all kind of lift and elevate and are in an environment that they can thrive. The challenge between upper management and yourself, that's such a squeeze. And we talk about that a lot in Manager IQ around, it is the role and responsibility of the manager to be able to clearly communicate up the chain what is going on and what are the decisions and why you're making those decisions, and vice versa.
I've always felt some of those roles. I've always called you the meat in the sandwich. You've got your team pressuring up. I need this. I need that support. I'm not happy here. And then you've got your leadership coming down. You need to produce this, and you need this, and we need to see this. And so you feel that squeeze if you can't get those things in sync. And a lot of times you can't, because the demands coming down aren't going to work on the floor that's below you. So how can I work with that plan and get what they need without destroying the team that's underneath me by putting unbelievable expectation on them. So it's management is a meat in the sandwich type of role.
Yeah, and absolutely is. And I actually use that frame as well in the program around being the meat in the sandwich. And I find a lot of it's around communication. So it's how you're able to clearly and transparently communicate up what the team are facing, what they're going on, and on an ongoing basis. Like, this team is really busy. They're thriving, but they've got high quality, but they might have pressures in these areas. So if you bring and put more on, it's going to actually hurt or impact those things. So how can we try and limit that? But if the management don't know, or upper management don't know what's actually going on a day-to-day basis, they're never going to know the impact of their decisions. And that needs to be done so you guys can articulate it when new decisions come down. But it's a challenge being that meat in the sandwich, I must say. I felt the squeeze myself numerous times. And trying to do the best by everyone is no easy feat, but can be an exciting challenge for managers, I think. All right, let's leave on, I guess, any hot tips that you might have for managers out there that you would want to share.
I think for me, if you're, whether you're new to management or you're an existing manager and you're moving to a new team, I think that's the most critical time, is when you're either building a new team or inheriting a new team, or a team that's new to you, is really just to listen and figure out what is going on, without putting anything in place immediately or without making judgments immediately, because you do get a lot of information coming from the team. These are the issues, or that person's the problem, or this is why this doesn't work, or this is great and we don't want this to change, and that sort of thing. I've seen it a lot where managers have come in and just felt that they had to rule with an iron fist and go, I'm here and this is the way it's going to be done, and just decimate a team and take 6 months or longer to try and, it's almost like, I don't know why this isn't working. It's like, because you just obliterated them at the start. You just broke all trust. They were already concerned about getting a new manager, and then you just completely wiped them off the park, and it's going to take a long time to rebuild. Where if you go in and listen to understand and really see what's going on, then when you do implement change, which you will, because you need to, then you've got a background as to why, and the why are we doing this? Why are we changing this? And you can go, well, this is what I've seen over the last 3 months. These are the areas that are the issues, and this is what I think will fix it. And these are the reasons why we're going to make this change. And you take that breath of, oh, I suppose he's right. Or, you can have an engaging conversation and say, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You're trying things. Management isn't a perfect art. You don't get everything right, but at least you're coming from a place of knowledge and understanding, rather than just, ta-da, I'm here, I'm a great manager, and we're going to put in my programs, and it's just going to happen. So that's probably the thing I've seen the most, where for me, I feel some managers fall down, is cutting off that trust immediately with the team and trying to implement too much too quickly. And the other thing is, it takes time. It takes time to get those moments where you clue in with someone. They might not open up in a one-on-one in a formal environment. They might not open up over a coffee if it's it'll be at odd times. I'm somebody I talk to my team a lot. So if I've come in from seeing a client or come in from a meeting or what the business is doing, and my team sit very close to me, it's like, I've just had this conversation. This has just happened with this person. This is going on over here. So I'm constantly giving that. It's not probably something that I consciously do to inform them. It's just the way I operate. But my team seem to resonate with that, because they've got a feeling of ownership of what's going on. I might be leading a client relationship, but if they know everything about it as well, in the back of my mind, if I'm not there, they might be able to say, oh, Lindsay normally does this when that happens to that client, or this client likes this because I've heard this several times from him, or whatever it might be. So I'm sort of seeding that information into my team. But the payback is they're engaged with that client, they're engaged with that process, they're engaged with the business because they know what's going on. So really clear, open communication lines. There's no point hiding stuff from them or not sharing it. Sometimes it's, hey, this meeting went really bad. I tanked. It was horrendous. They just nailed me on this, and this. But they might have plans to come into my shoes at some stage. So it's helping them develop and go, oh, yeah, I don't know how I would handle that conversation. Or, oh, actually, and that's the question. Well, how'd you handle it? Oh, I just, I went on down this track, or I tried this. So everything's an opportunity to engage with your team. Good news, bad news, whatever it is. And then it's not that sort of contrived, okay, here's our one-on-one time, and we're going to have this really great conversation, and everyone's on edge, like, oh, what does he want from me? Because if I'm talking openly and honestly and authentically, then you tend to get that back. So that for me is the main thing.
Yeah. Oh, I love those, Lindsay. That was such great hot tips. I think people can take that away and implement that themselves. I just want to thank you so much for all of your knowledge that you shared with us today. It's been quite inspiring to hear some of the things that we've been talking about, and it really resonates with some other managers I've spoken with as well. So thank you so much, and we hope to see you here again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks very much.